They say betrayal cuts deeper when it comes from those closest to you, and now I know exactly how true that is. My life feels like a soap opera, but it's my reality. My younger sister is having an affair with my husband, and they're planning a trip together. Let me explain how I found out and why I'm not letting this go. My sister Lena and I were always close. She's the baby of the family, 5 years younger than me, and I've always felt protective of her. She had this effortless charm about her, the kind that made everyone love her instantly. I never minded, until now. It started with subtle signs. My husband Jason suddenly became more interested in his appearance. He started wearing cologne he hadn't touched in years and hitting the gym after work. At first, I thought it was sweet. He's trying to impress me, I told myself. But then there were the late-night work meetings that didn't add up, and the way he'd glance at his phone, smiling at messages he wouldn't share with me. Meanwhile, Lena had been spending more time at our house. "I love hanging out with you guys," she'd say with her disarming smile. She'd come over for dinner, stay late into the night, and even borrow Jason's car when hers broke down. It all seemed innocent, but looking back, the signs were there. The moment everything clicked felt like a punch to the gut. I was cleaning the living room when I found Lena's scarf, the one I had complimented her on, tucked between the couch cushions. She hadn't been over in weeks. I confronted Jason that night. "Why was Lena's scarf here?" I asked, my voice trembling. He shrugged. "Maybe she left it last time she came over?" His nonchalance made my stomach churn. I didn't sleep that night. Something about his tone, his body language, it all felt off. So, I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through his phone, and there it was. A string of messages between him and Lena. Flirty texts, plans to meet up, inside jokes I didn't understand. My hands shook as I scrolled through their conversations. The words felt like daggers. "I can't wait for our getaway," one message from Jason read. "Me neither," Lena had replied. "It'll be our little secret." I felt like the floor had dropped out from under me. My own sister, my husband, the two people I trusted most had betrayed me in the worst way possible, and now they were planning a trip together? It was too much to bear. I confronted Lena the next day. She showed up at my house as if nothing had happened, carrying a bottle of wine and her usual carefree attitude. I didn't even let her inside. "How long has this been going on?" I asked, holding up my phone with the incriminating messages. Her face went pale. For a moment, I thought she might deny it. But then she said, "It's not what you think. Don't you dare lie to me," I hissed. "You're my sister. How could you?" She didn't have an answer. Instead, she started crying, mumbling something about how she didn't mean for it to happen, how she didn't want to hurt me. Her tears only made me angrier. Jason came home in the middle of our confrontation. He froze when he saw us, his guilt written all over his face. "We need to talk," I said, my voice trembling with rage. He tried to explain, to justify, to apologize. But nothing he said could undo the damage. He admitted to the affair, but claimed it just happened, as if that made it any better. "I didn't mean to hurt you," he said, echoing Lena's pathetic excuse. "You didn't mean to hurt me?" I snapped. "You're sleeping with my sister, planning a trip with her, and you didn't think that might hurt me?" I kicked them both out that night. Jason tried to stay, begging me to work this out for the sake of our marriage. But I couldn't even look at him. As for Lena, she left without saying a word, her head hanging low. In the days that followed, I felt like I was drowning. The betrayal consumed me. Everywhere I turned, there were reminders of what I'd lost. My marriage, my sister, my trust in the people I loved most. I wanted to scream, to cry, to throw things, but none of it would bring back what they had taken from me. Then I found out about the trip. They hadn't canceled it. In fact, they were going ahead as planned, like nothing had happened. That's when I realized they weren't just betraying me, they were flaunting it. I decided I wouldn't let them get away with it. If they thought they could just walk all over me, they were wrong. I started documenting everything. the texts, the receipts, the lies. I consulted a lawyer and began planning my next move. But the hardest part was facing my parents. I had to tell them what Lena had done, what Jason had done. The look on their faces when I explained was almost worse than the betrayal itself. They were devastated, torn between their love for both of us and their anger at what had happened. My mom cried for hours. My dad, usually so composed, looked like he'd aged 10 years in a single conversation. Lena tried to reach out to me, sending me long, rambling messages about how sorry she was, how much she missed me, how she wished she could undo everything. But her words meant nothing to me. Actions speak louder than words, and her actions had destroyed our bond. As for Jason, he moved out of our home that now felt like a prison of memories I couldn't escape. He's still trying to fix things, but how do you fix something so thoroughly broken? The trip came and went, and I didn't hear from either of them during that time. I imagined them sipping cocktails on a beach somewhere, pretending they weren't the villains in this story. But I refused to let their betrayal define me. I'm still figuring out what's next for me. Some days are harder than others. The pain doesn't just disappear, and the trust doesn't magically rebuild itself. But I'm learning to put myself first, to focus on my healing, to remember that I deserve better. Better than a husband who betrays me, better than a sister who stabs me in the back. They may have shattered my world, but they didn't destroy me. I'm still here, still standing, still fighting for a future where I can feel whole again. And one day, I'll look back on this and know that I didn't let their betrayal break me.